Just for the sake of the recording, I just want to introduce Jane. She probably doesn't need an introduction, but she was an award-winning sports writer and feature writer for the Washington Post, became an award-winning New York Times best-selling author of baseball bios of Sandy Koufax, uh, Babe Ruth, and Mickey Mantle, and your kind of semi-autobiographical squeeze play, a novel, which is super fun. I recommend
Betty,
that.
hey, where are you?
So here's her dog Betty, and she's in the book. She's
Betty is the main character.
absolutely
Betty is the one of the mascots for the Orleans Firebirds in the Cape Cod League. It's the closest franchise to where I live half a year in Truro, Massachusetts. And the manager, though they called coaches in the Cape League, I don't know why. So Coach Kelly Nicholson um, lets her take infield practice with the guys, and they're all unfailingly impressed. Nothing gets past her. And one day she brought Bill the Spaceman home, Bill the Spaceman Lee home for a sleepover, because she spotted somebody who would play catch with her. But when he got there, he refused. And
Aw.
she put the ball by his foot and he just kept ignoring it. He was stretching his hamstrings on the deck. Michael, you've been on that deck, and with his butt facing the sunset, bright pink shorts, and Betty's just sitting there looking at the orange ball. So he had to come here to Washington, where I live the rest of the year. At which point I said, "Okay, come here, Betty. Come here. Come here. She doesn't understand this. Okay. There's
Oh,
there's
Aw.
Ed. Betty,
uh,
say hello. What
she's
did you say?
pretty.
Betty.
Betty, where are you?
Hi, Betty.
I mean, I gotta have to move the
Betty
computer.
Spaghetti.
Betty, there you are.
She's
There
just
you are.
transfixed on you, Jane. It's like,
Yeah, she is. She's the
oh.
most, she's the best dog ever. So Kelly was throwing her balls and the guys were shagging them. And um, Kelly kept saying, move back, move back. It's not far enough. She'll get anything. She's really fast.
She's
And
very athletic. So did you like take her to drive line or something to train her? Or?
no, I've never run any analytics on her paw mouth coordination.
And before we move on, I want to introduce our host because I'm a little under the weather, so I might fade in and out of the meeting. But Mike Hoppert, again, probably doesn't need an introduction, but he's a economics professor at La Crosse, University of La Crosse, Wisconsin, and Jane's personal baseball economist, which why not? Everyone should have one. So we're
Exactly.
very honored to have the two of you together.
It
I'm
is
glad to be
absolutely
anywhere.
my pleasure to be anywhere where Jane is. She's just fantastic. So Jane, for those people here who have maybe not yet finished your book, could you just so I've known about this book for a few years. Um, and when I read the acknowledgments, which is one of the first things I always do with the book to see where people got their ideas, it's like a who's who of baseball people. So, what was your vision when you started this book? Were you thinking, here's a list of 100 people I want to talk to? Or did you just decide I'm going to go to every level of baseball in 2023 and talk to whoever I run into? Or how did you envision this book and how did you pull it together?
Uh, it actually started on the veranda of the Otisaga Hotel in Cooperstown. When I had breakfast with Joe Torre and Sandy Koufax, and I know I'm dropping names, I was equally impressed, believe me. Um, and they started having a conversation about today's game. Neither of them were particularly enchanted by it. And they were talking almost in baseball tongues. They were just like having this, and then they do this, and then they do this, and then, and I couldn't follow any of it. And it's a place where you're not supposed to ask for autographs or take notes. So I'm just listening and going, da, 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 da. And Joe finally says, hard to watch. This is 2019. It was the Mariano Rivera unanimous vote year. And Sandy says, I don't watch. That blew me out of the water. So the idea was born at the Otissaga. The COVID kind of got in the way for a couple of years. There wasn't much I could do. So I worked on a novel about a nun who was a friend of mine. I was a nice Jewish girl in a convent for a while. And then I came back to it in 2021 when baseball resumed. And it was clear that things were amiss. All the headlines that offseason were baseball's broken, baseball's dead, baseball's dying, baseball should be federalized. And it was in January 2021 that that Theo, who I refer to as the czar of making baseball fun again, was appointed to shepherd through some rules that might, begin to attack the institutional problems. And it's when I went back to the field for the first time, and it was surreal. There was no shift. And I was like, everything's back in balance. Wow, equipoise. There aren't all these people stacked on the right side of the field anymore. And then, I reported all the way through 21. I was bugging you, Mike, about things throughout that period. And then they, it was clear what they were going to do because they were testing the rules, the new rules, no shift, and the pitch clock and the bigger bases and what else were they testing? There's something else that the number of times you could throw over to first. So we knew, you knew what was coming. And when they announced them at the end of September, I think, 2022, I thought, I'm screwed. I can no longer write the book that I set out to write. So I started all over with a new conceit, which was that I would travel everywhere that baseball is played, or as many places as I could find at every level, and see how well the new rules were working and see what else needed to be done and how I could help. And when Rob Manfred announced that he was going to be giving up the job at the end of this current term in 2029, I said, why not me?
Okay, so 2029, you're commissioner. You talked about 100 different things that are wrong with the game and what you could do to fix them. But if you could only implement one of those things, you get any one change you want, what's it going to be?
All kids under the age of 10 get in free. And I know that this is a good idea. Why? Because Mike blessedly did the math for me. I can't do any math. He can tell you that it's really horrible, but true. Based on 2023 menu prices at Wrigley Field, if you took a 10-year-old to the game, whether, grandpa, grandma, whichever indulgent adult, took a kid to the game and bought the small hot dog, a small soda, cotton candy or ice cream. You said one third thing there, Mike, and a youth cap. It would have cost the Cubbies all of $4 million in 2023. Now, I am a respecter of people's wallets. $4 million is a good chunk of change for most people. But let me assure you that for the 30 people who own major league teams, even the ones who cry poor house, most often and most vocally, it's chump change. It's nothing. And as Mike also pointed out, that was the year the Cubs paid Jason Hayward $21 million to play for the Dodgers. So the biggest problem, in my view, is that the generation of fans that supported, like pretty much all of us, that have supported the game, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, well, I've been told I'm dying. I mean, it's okay, I guess I'm dying. But we're dying out and it has to be replenished. And it's too expensive to go. You can't afford to take a family of four, or maybe even a family of two. So imagine this, okay? It's Rob's said his farewells and there's a news conference, and the first thing I do is I get up and I say, you know what? We understand. We know it's too expensive. We get it. We know that there are all these swaths of empty seats, that we have too much inventory and too many games. But why should they be empty? Let's let kids in free. Can you imagine the public relations value of that? When is the last time Major League Baseball did something of such a magnitude of generosity, of acknowledging the importance of having people in the ballpark? That, I think it would be shocking. I think it would be shocking, and just based on the goodwill alone that it would engender, you would have people starting to come back. The corollary to that one, Mike, as you well know, is that, and I've stolen this from the Savannah Bananas, there will be a section in each ballpark at each game where we do as the Bananas did when they first started out, which is a prefix for a seat and all you can eat, and that's kids and adults. And that's how they got people into their ballpark, because believe me, nobody wanted to go in the beginning of Savannah. First come, first serve. Every Saturday, these are all kind of a constellation. Um, uh, in every ballpark, there's going to be a section for older kids who get in free. They used to do it at Ebbets Field. They used to do it at Forbes Field. They did it at Griffith Stadium, and I'm sure there were more, but strikingly, nobody keeps track of them. I couldn't find a source that had them all. But if you want to give kids purchase on the game, you have to give them purchase at the places where the game is played. You have to let them feel the grass and feel the dirt. Run against the pierogies the flying pierogies in Milwaukee. Race against the presidents in Washington. Why shouldn't the captain or the catcher for the best high school team in town warm up the pitcher between innings? I mean, there's a zillion things they can do to both bring people back and, make people feel welcome.
This sounds like it would be a great investment for the teams, $4 million in terrific advertising, where not only are you building for the future, like you say, but all these kids are going to go out and talk about what a wonderful time they had and inspire more people. So to me, it sounds like you've got some great ideas for marketing. And one of the things you mentioned in the book was Major League Baseball is really lousy compared to the other major sports at marketing their players. Do you
Yep.
have any ideas for what Major League Baseball could do to be better at marketing their players?
Well, first of all, they could have somebody under the age of 90 in charge of marketing. Um, they could recognize, I mean, this sounds predatory, I suppose, but they could recognize, as the NFL does. There's a reason that the NFL is promoting flag football in the Olympics. It may be riding high, and it may be, the sport of most of America, but people are getting injured and getting hit upside the head just too often, starting when they're kids. And, so the effects of CTE, when they can diagnose it in living people, are going to be it's a sea changer for the NFL. So take advantage of that, market against it, stop being so goddamn nice. Say, bring your kids to the game they're likely to remember. That's one thing they could do. And, you know, how about having somebody who matches athletes with endorsements? Not just the agent who's getting a cut of it all. Aaron Judge and his two little weensy little dogs, who are adorable, ought to be, marketing dog food. His own brand of dog food, for God's sake. I'd buy it, right? As long as it's not grain-free. In case you didn't know, grain-free is really bad for dogs. Too many legumes and it can cause heart damage. So there's so many, all it takes is some imagination. All it takes is somebody willing to think outside the proverbial box. And they don't think outside the proverbial box. And I think that, do something different for God's sake. That's
Okay,
the
here's
question.
one. Here's one that where somebody was thinking outside the box. And I know that you have some thoughts on this, so I'm going to say it. You get 1 sentence max to respond. The golden at bat.
Oh, for God's sake. I mean, I'm not for cheapening the game, okay? I'm not for Savannah Banana practice flip catches in center field or tap dancing in cleats on the pitching mound, or an umpire that shakes his booty in your face. That guy has lost over 150 pounds doing this. Believe me, I knew Vince at the beginning. And but how about why wasn't there an advertisement the next day, right? When Jacob Young made a catch at Citi Field at the end of the season where he goes up over the wall, brings back a home run, and he's high enough up that as he comes back down to earth, the ball drops out of his glove, right? And I can't even say it. Sorry, it's the lozenge that I was going to give you. He instinctively kicks the ball with his non-top tap dancing cleat, and he catches it with a glove, and it's an out. The next day, all the comment was that was a Savannah Bananas play. No, that was a Major League Baseball play. It accomplished by somebody who, okay, he doesn't hit 60 home runs, but he may save them. Yeah, I think he had the highest, whatever that stat is, in defensive, bringing back runs. And when that part of the game was encouraged and when it was promoted, there should have been an ad the next day saying, no, that's not a bananas play. That's what Major League Baseball players do. And he didn't practice it, for God's sake. It was for real. And compare and contrast. Which would you rather see? DR Meadows, which is the name of the banana center fielder, doing his flip one more time. I'm surprised the guy doesn't throw up by the end of the game. Or Jacob Young doing, what he can that ball players do best. Promote the hell out of that.
So the bananas right now are immensely popular. I mean, they're selling out football stadiums. And I agree with you. I don't think there's anybody on this Zoom that would not agree with you, when you say that. We don't want Major League Baseball to become that. But are there things that Major League Baseball are there things that the bananas are doing that could be applicable to Major League Baseball to brighten up the game, to encourage more whatever it is that would help?
Yeah, I think they ought to call fat guys out of the stands and have them take off their shirts and jiggle their fat all the way around the bases. No, I'm kidding. I hate that. But that's one of their big sellers, their entertainment is, to say the least, variable. But you know what? They've got guys who take off their shirts. They've got the party animals take off their shirts. And I have just been apprised that because of how buff the party animals are the equivalent of the generals, to use the comparison to the Globetrotters. Bananas have now become a huge bachelorette party scene. So, yes, Mike, there are things that they can borrow. Chief among them, and it's illustrated by this story, I was there in West Palm Beach at a Bananas game. It was right when Bill the Spaceman Lee came back from his first collapse in the bullpen in Savannah. So the end of so August 2022. And anyway, so I was there for his game, the first one back, which was end of February 23. And this big hunky guy in a pink iridescent uniform climbs into the stands, sits down next to this kid, and hands him a pen and says, "Will you sign my jersey?" Now, it wasn't until that very moment that I realized that the reason the Bananas jerseys look so dirty all the time is they're covered with blue ink. It's not just that they're dingy and somebody isn't doing the laundry well. But in that moment, in that exchange, in that reversal of roles, where the ball player is saying to the kid, "You matter. That's how important you are to me." Because in this crazy culture, having somebody sign something matters to a lot of people. I'm not one of them, but that gesture and that instinct, that they practice. And so I had a conversation with Mike Rizzo the next day about it and said, that's one of my rules. We're going to have guys going into the stands. Why can't those people on the 60-day IL, spend some time meeting the peeps and pressing the flesh? Joey Votto did it when he was on the injured list in his last year or second to last year in Cincinnati. And what was most telling about Joey doing it was he was scared. He was scared what would happen when he climbed into the stands at Great American Ballpark and just sat down and said, hello. What were they going to want? What were they going to do? To discover that that's the attitude and that he's a good guy, right? I mean, he's a really community-centered, really good guy. It was really instructive to me. So Mike immediately says, no, they can't do it. We can't do it. Too dangerous. And I'm like, you have security. Then let me tell you how I know you have security. Because the kids at the Bananas game were coming down right by home plate. And there was a guy, a security man in his beige pants and blue shirt, screaming at them, get away, it's a fire hazard. Okay, buzzkill. And, the kids were crying, blah, 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 blah. I see yes, strikeouts are fascist. I have that in the book. Um, um, uh, so there's lots of things they can do to change what has become a really unhealthy dynamic and to encourage people to come back to baseball. Yes, putting balls back in play would help. And one thing you could do to do that, this is in the book. I don't know if you were going there, Mike, but Rizzo suggested changing the shape of the strike zone in order to, if you bring it down a little and make it a little wider than it, currently is, not the, extraordinary east-west strike zone that Greg Maddox benefited from. But if you bring it down a little bit, then pitchers can't, get that ball up under the hands so easily. And guys who have some bat head control and can, make contact will be able to put the ball in play more easily. So that's another one that I agree with.
So part of the other discussion that's been going on here that I want to bring up, a couple people commented on, there's one way to see the game is to go to the game. Another way is to watch it on TV.
If you
But
can
a couple
find
people are
it.
saying the blackout rules are killing the fans. What do you suggest that we do with TV? I mean, right now Major League Baseball is trying to monopolize TV like the NFL does. But the NFL seems to have done a great job at getting all their fans to watch their games. Can baseball do this?
Would you like to explain path dependence or should I do it? Mike,
It's your book, you do it.
Mike educated me about this. I believe Mike is writing a very important book about a very important guy that most people don't know anything about, William Holbert, who was central in the effort to organize the National League back in the 1880s. Have I got that right?
1870s, 1870s.
Sorry, I've been missaying that then. And if I recall your words correctly, in order to get the Rowdies, who then were team owners, to agree to uniformity of, roster size and, number of games you had to play and other things, he said, okay, you can have marketing rights of your local territory in perpetuity. Do I have that right, Mike?
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, that probably wasn't worth a whole hell of a lot in the 1870s, but then things evolve and you get radio, right? And radio isn't even that profitable at the beginning. It's just local advertising. The first game broadcast was a Pirates game in 2021, and then the first World Series broadcast nationally was 27, and that was a big deal, and a huge technological advance. But then came the Depression. So, again, this issue didn't really crystallize until decades later, when you started to have, and you always had the National Game of the Week. That was nice, even if you didn't really care about the teams. But younger sports, the NBA and the NFL, who, those games have been played, but they institutionally weren't so stuck, were able to adjust to the changing climate and economics and technology. They were the ones who said, oh, we got to do this different. Some teams took advantage of cable and created, big cable networks like the Braves and the Cubs. But the decisive issue was that revenue is predicated on geography, which is an accident, right? There's nothing you can do about it. So you've got a system which made sense for a really long time, but doesn't work anymore because the Los Angeles Dodgers can sell their TV rights for $8 billion for 8 years, right? I got that right? Yeah, thank you. Whereas the Royals, for example, were making, before their RSN crashed, were making about 40 to 45 million. So there's an implicit inequity. And that means that by May, maybe June, half the teams in the leagues are kaput. They're non-competitive. I don't even know if I'm answering your question. Did I?
It doesn't matter.
I've been talking now for 4 hours straight. What did you ask, Mike?
I asked if there's anything we could do to make TV, make the situation better.
Well, you came up with a plan, which is in the book, which basically is a de facto cap. But the word cap is radioactive. I mean, all you need to do is look at Bryce Harper's reaction to Manfred recently, when Manfred went around and started talking about this issue. And on the other hand, Manfred did the incredibly stupid thing. I mean, how do you market a game by beginning the year by saying, by the way, you should expect a lockout, and it's really not such a bad thing because it's like using a 22 rather than a nuclear weapon. And that's really what's going to happen. It's the new norm. It's going to happen when this collective bargaining agreement is over, expires on December 2nd, 2026. How dumb how can you run a business like that? How can you say to people, come to baseball, we want you to care about the game and the teams and the players, but this is what you should expect? I won't do that as commissioner. Mike's plan is to take all the revenues and split them in half. Half for the owners, half for the teams, for the players, a player payroll fund. And and everybody gets a 30th of that. That would solve the problem. It's true. But there's no way in God's green earth that this union and Tony Clark are gonna accept that. Absolutely, it's a non-starter. My friend Dan Okrent looked at Mike's plan. Now, Dan Okrent is the guy who created rotisserie league baseball, and I blame all of this on him. You'll have to read the book to find out why, but he did screw this up really big time. His plan is similar, but it's predicated on having assessments, independent economic assessments of each team. Then you split the money in half. But the bigger money teams like the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Yankees, people who had to spend more to buy those franchises and are also earning more and have more to lose and who are frankly paying a lot in luxury taxes would get extra shares rather than just the same as the people in Kansas City. I still don't, you can call it shares, you can call it a cap. I don't see them going for it. So what I came up with, and I don't know whether we even talked about this, Mike, is you need a salary floor. Yeah, the fact that some people can get away with spending $60 million while pocketing luxury tax money is ridiculous. I mean, and that's part of the problem. The players have good reason not to trust ownership. They've taken, a lot of these teams, there are still grievances pending against the A's and the Rays, and I think Pittsburgh, I can't remember who the other one was, that are left over from the last collective bargaining agreement. So it's hard to argue, that every owner is trying to win. But I think what you could do is you could jack up this isn't about television, is it? I guess it is.
No, but it doesn't matter. It's interesting.
It
So
doesn't
keep
matter.
going.
You could jack up the prices that Steve Cohn, you think he paid a lot for Soto this year? Let's jack it up so that he really has to pay through the nose. Rich people in America don't like being told you can't spend your money. What were you about to say?
I was just about to say we've got other questions coming
Oh,
in that are
okay.
different that I want to get to. So
Okay.
one of the questions is, what would you do to fix interleague play? Not every team has a geographic rival that it makes sense to do this with. What do you think about interleague play? Is this a good thing, a bad thing? Is it overdone? What?
It's incredibly overdone. When it first happened, it was interesting and logical and different, and then it became regular. And I frankly think it's been a step in the direction of the kind of conferences that Manfred has said that he wants to build that will split up old rivalries and make new conferences in, discrete geographical locations. I hate it. I'm still somebody who likes to think there's a National League and an American League, and that those alliances matter and should continue to matter.
And then another question is about tanking.
Ugh.
And so, this person says, tanking, I appreciate the planning idea behind it, but don't you risk alienating a whole generation of young fans when you have a team that loses horribly, like the Astros did for 3 or 4 years? Do you think this causes a hole, or do you think that, I mean, the fact that they've been so good for the last 10 years makes up for the 3 or 4 horrible years?
No, I don't think it makes up for it, but I do think that that's one thing that 2022 collective bargaining agreement addressed. By changing the way people are rewarded or penalized in the draft, it pretty much addressed a lot of the issue of tanking. Tanking is just the most morally corrupt thing an owner of a professional sports team can do. The basic contract is, you come to my games, you pay money to sit there, I try to win. It's just about as disgusting as anything in sports. I mean, I hate it. And no, I think it destroys generations of fans. So I have lots of anti-tanking rules in here. of penalties. One of them is relegation, which everybody laughs at me about. But you know what? It works in English soccer. You tank, you want to put a AAA team or maybe even a AA team on the field for like 4 years? Go play in a AAA, stadium. Look how well that's working out for the Rays and the whatever you call them in Sacramento, with the diminished, attendance, et cetera, et cetera. There have to be punishments. You need to, take away their draft choices. You need to diminish the size of their roster. How about going down from 40 to 35 if you do it a second time, right? I mean, there are steps you can take to penalize teams for tanking. Go play in Nashville. You want to see if there's a market there? Go ahead. We'll experiment.
What about I heard this idea a few years ago, so it's not mine, that one way to address tanking to get a high draft pick would be to say, no, the first draft pick doesn't go to the worst team. It goes to the best team that missed the playoffs. So you're the team that just misses the playoffs. You get first pick next year. The second best team that missed the playoffs gets a second pick, etc. And you go backward that way. And then the teams that make the playoffs get the last, what do we have, 12 picks now? What about something like that?
I think there's a variety of solutions like that, Mike, and they put one in that involves, the top teams not being able to be in the top 10 of, pick the top 10 draft picks. And it's worked to a certain extent, but it's also rewarded people that didn't deserve to be rewarded. So it's they have the carrot and the stick reversed. Any parent can tell you that this is completely crazy. I'd have to go back and look at exactly what this CBA did because I don't remember, but it did address some of it. It's not enough. Just go to Nashville. Tell me how it is there in the middle of the summer to play in a AAA ballpark. Where you're not going to have enough of a market to sustain a team, yet another team. And let's diminish, and dilute the talent some more while we're greedily expanding to 32 teams.
All right, let's switch it up a little bit. Here's another question. So, when your new job starts in 2029, can you look back at the former commissioners and say, this is the guy who did it right? This is somebody I kind of want to emulate because this is what I like what they did.
Well, I think this is not fair because Faye Vincent got sacked basically for being a decent moral, arbiter of the game. I didn't realize until I read about it just the other day, just how brief Giamatti's time in office was before he died of a massive heart attack right in the middle and after adjudicating Pete Rose. I mean, you want to talk about how much things have deteriorated, and it's not just in baseball, but Pete Rose should never be in the Hall of Fame. If he's in the Hall of Fame, then take down those goddamn plaques in the clubhouses, right? I mean, it just makes absolutely no sense that there are people in the Hall of Fame that aren't good actors. That's a foregone, truism, and it's not great, but hey, who's perfect, right? But to have a rule that says this is verboten and then put him in, to have a rule that says this is verboten and then embrace gambling completely the way they have is to me appalling. And that's why one of my solutions, Mike, is that this big lot of dough that they're going to earn for gambling, and it's not like they get a cut of every bet. They're making their money on gambling through advertising deals, which you can't hide from the DraftKings signage. There's no way you can avert your eyes. And by selling their data to Sports Radar, which it makes them pretty bit of hunk of change. And then they now have bought a part of Sports Radar just to make it even richer. They're making money both ways. I say take some of that $1 billion and use it to fund major league training complexes for kids in every major league city where there currently is not one. They're a variable. Some teams have created them. Major League Baseball, I think there are 6 affiliated with Major League Baseball now. And it's not enough. There should be an avenue for kids who can't afford to play baseball, which has become a country club sport. It is now more expensive to play baseball than it is to play hockey, to play football or basketball in America. So that, who's that going to exclude? Every team should have one of these, and every kid who wants to play should have equipment. That's what Marquise Grissom and a whole cohort of former Black major leaguers have done on their own with their own dime. You know, Marquise takes donations from Buckhead baseball. That's the really swanky part of Atlanta. And he cleans all that equipment up and he puts it in a big barn and he says, I give it to a kid who's going to respect it and use it. And some of the people I've met through this are just, well, in Yiddish, Mensch, and a Mensch is a whole person. He's one of the many I met along the way.
Let's go down this path a little more because we've been talking about the doom and gloom of baseball, but that story about Marquise Grissom and some of those other the programs that were put together are really heartening, and to me they're the future hope of baseball. But let me ask a different question. All of the different games that you went to and all the different stadiums and areas you were at in 2023, which by the way made me drool every time you mentioned a different stadium. Which of those games, which of those settings would you describe as the standard by which you would like to see baseball measure itself? This is the game that I went to here is really what baseball should be, and this is what Major League Baseball should try and be.
Eldridge Park in Orleans, Massachusetts, home of the Orleans Firebirds of the Cape Cod League.
Because
Well, they don't charge money for one thing. It's all voluntary. You sit on the grass, right? The players, guess what? The players do the groundskeeping. Wow, where there's a radical idea. It really feels like, baseball the way it was when we were all kids. It's very high level talent and it is being corrupted slowly but surely by NIL money. So, college coaches don't want to send their kids anymore to the Cape League, which has always been the place that the top kids can go to show what they can do with a wooden bat, because of course they haven't been playing with wooden bats. So Kelly Nicholson, the coach of the Firebirds, I think he lost 19 players last year, but Katuitt, nobody wants to play in Katuitt. Katuitt lost 44 because players are now just coming in for a look-see because, scouts collect behind the home plate everywhere. So even in this idyllic setting, you see the encroachment of money and a system that is completely run amok.
so you hit on a couple things here. Just like I agree with you that the players will never accept a salary cap, you'll have to agree with me that the owners would never let everyone in for free. So where is the balance between baseball as a business and baseball as this idyllic pastime that those of us who are truly fans really appreciate?
I actually think the two things that are in tension and opposition is baseball as a business that has chosen to optimize absolutely everything. Thank God the Roman advertisements on the back of the pitching mound, the place that for mail, little blue where you get little blue pills in the mail and not have to tell anybody. Thank God that's gone. But I think the tension is between that business model and entertainment. And that's what they've sacrificed because it's so unbalanced now. The idea that part of their job and the reason they have the tax exemption from 1922, thank you, is because it's an entertainment. And there are players who recognize that that is an obligation, who want to, milk a moment for the drama. Like my old buddy Rich Hill, who said he used to, when it got to a really important moment in a game, he would step off the mound, which you can't do anymore, wander around, look at the sky, before delivering the penultimate pitch, to milk it, to give people, some tension, a sense of drama. Interestingly, Dave Roberts suggested giving extra time on the pitch clock in the late innings for precisely that reason. I thought he was going to say because arms are falling off. No, because he wants there to be an opportunity for pitchers, to do that, to milk the moments. It's AJ Ellis, who was Kershaw's personal catcher when they were together with the Dodgers, said, it's our job. That's what we're here for, is to entertain. And that concept that you should make decisions predicated on that, is totally lost. Totally. I mean, one of my favorite awful statistics is that there are, let me see if I get this right. Oh, somebody with the book might have it, though I forgot to put an index, so it's hard to look up. There are more strikeouts than balls put in play, I think, for the last 7 years.
I think that's what you said, yeah.
I think there's also one that there are more strikeouts. No, there are more balls fouled off than balls put in play. So one suggestion was made by Bill James, and I can argue it both ways, is put a limit on how many balls you can foul back. Well, fouling back balls is time consuming, but it also builds drama, in a really classic at bat. So how do there's always going to be trade-offs. The one that I'm adamant about is the ghost runner. I just because for one thing, a core value of baseball was that you had to earn your way around the bases. You don't get plunked on second base because you got trained to make. And and what's more, when you look past that a little bit, what you find is that 75% of all extra inning games end at the end of the 10th inning. So it is like legislation for a problem that doesn't exist till the 12th or 13th inning. And if you think that's a problem, I don't think baseball's better off without the opportunity for games like Marichal and Spawn at the Stick in 62. But again, I recognize there's a trade-off. It's a different world. The travel is onerous for these guys. And as we all know from getting on planes these days, it's just going to get worse. So even with their, chartered jets and things or team planes. So, but there are, so there are always going to be trade-offs, but none of them are made based on the supposition that it is an obligation, a legal obligation to entertain and to consider that in the decisions that are made.
So other than the Manfred Mann rule, as you refer to it in the book, is there anything else you think is operating right now as an obstruction to that when you're commissioner, so the opposite side of the question I asked earlier, instead of what rule would you put in, is there anything you'd take out? You'd say, this ends today. Now that it's on my watch, this is over because it's impeding my plan to, better get baseball in front of people and as an enjoyable entertainment.
Blackout
Okay.
rule.
So TV, going over to TV.
Yeah, blackout rule.
Okay, so now I'm going to quote something that you wrote.
Oh, shit.
And then I want to let me ask the question after that. So this is what you wrote. More than any other sport, baseball has preserved, protected, and defined itself through numbers. So I'm going to ask you in a second if that is good or bad. But first I want to bring up the names of two people, and I won't, talk about how you put them as boogeymen in the book, but two people who you say probably have damaged baseball. Daniel Okrent and Bill James, both because of what they did with numbers. So, is this devotion to numbers that baseball has, is that good for baseball? Is that what attaches us to the past? Or has it become unwieldy and is it now bad for baseball with all the analytics that it has led to?
It is a very ironic and paradoxical story. I don't think I said Bill was a boogeyman, by the
I
way.
didn't say you said that. You kind of set him up with the way he's the
Well, I
grandfather
mean,
of analytics.
he's certainly regarded by many traditionalists as a boogeyman. I think he's a genius and a fabulous writer. Dan Okrent is the boogeyman. Dan Okrent is a very good friend of mine. He is also, as most of you undoubtedly know, the person who created Rotisserie League Baseball, which begat rotisserie, which begat fantasy sports, which is a gazillion dollar industry that people bet on. So they're betting on different people's fantasy teams. It started as a way, I think, for short, clumsy, myopic Jews, such as Dan, to make decisions that he could prove to people were better than the guy Bob Sheffing, who traded Nolan Ryan for Jim Fregosi, right? It's like, I'm not that dumb. I could have figured that out. Well, those kinds of games in which you put a dollar amount on a player and his statistics, you started to think, okay, I need 80 RBI from this position. I don't need a catcher who has an 80 RBI. Maybe I need two catchers who can put together 80, right? And started to allocate money based on the numbers you needed to generate for a successful offense, right? Because in the beginning, all the numbers were offensive. I don't mean it that way. But they were. The paradox is that baseball, more than any, prior to any other sport, thank you, Chadwick, um, you know, and he did it because he wanted to prove to people in England that baseball was a serious game, started collecting numbers and created a scoring system that created what's called in data science a clean data set. Nobody else had that, not in industry, not in sports. The NFL and NBA and NHL will never catch up to baseball and its trough of numbers. And the trough of numbers is what enabled the early analytics guys to start playing around and making comparisons and equations and algorithms and what if you do this and if you have these numbers and blah, da, 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 da. So in a way, they've been hoisted by their own petard. That's why we have analytics. The difference is that analytics, as they've played out in other sports, have worked to make those more entertaining. The NBA came up with a three-point shot and Stephen Curry, I mean, this is not a bad thing, right? They were not as wedded or not as wed to the past and felt they could make changes more readily. Making change in baseball is hard. The DH, that came in 73 traumatized the entire industry for decades. So it's in the NFL, suddenly you have people going for it on fourth down because their analytics show that, the chances of making it are better. So they have worked to make those sports more exciting. Analytics in baseball worked to make baseball boring and a kind of almost one-dimensional sport based on the three true outcomes. The interaction between a pitcher and the catcher, and the hitter and the ball, a home run, a strikeout, or a walk. And so the subtleties and nuances of the game and the fact that there were different ways to win, disappeared. Everybody wanted to draft the same guys. Everybody wants the same lineup. It's a real copycat sport, so I think that the problem with analytics in baseball is all it can tell you, and this is coming from my friend Pekko Hasoy, who has created the sports analytics lab at MIT. She's almost as smart as Mike, but not quite. She's certainly as nice as you are, however. You know, all analytics can tell you in baseball is what is likely to happen based on what has happened 9 times out of 10. It cannot tell you in baseball what's going to happen the 10th time. There are too many variables, too many intangibles. How about the pebble and the infield in the 24 World Series? Do you know that they never found it? They went out, the groundskeepers went out the next day and never found the pebble. So maybe it's a phantom pebble. I don't know. But the pebble in the outfield. How about the fact that a groundskeeper forgot to put the top on the drain in right center field in Yankee Stadium that caused Mickey Mantle to, play the rest of his career, which was most of it, not whole. And to, forgo all the potential that he had in that body. Or the sun in Willie Davis's eyes. There are variables, or the rain today in Detroit. I don't know what the score of that game is. I don't know whether they're playing it or they're not playing it. Things happen. And as Joe Torre said to me, it's probably people tell me it's the best quote in the book. They're trying to make an imperfect game perfect, and I resent it. And the same thing applies to now we're going to have the robo-umps. Well, they've been developing this and testing it at places since 2019. Technology creates its own imperative. There was no doubt that they were going to use it. The only question was, were they going to go full robo or challenge robo? I'm totally thrilled that they didn't go total robo, because guess what? What if that breaks? Jim Joyce, the old umpire, said to me, what if that robo breaks, in the World Series and the Yankees are in it? Well, it's not going to happen this year, but okay. And the Yankees are in it. He said, people's heads will explode. Technology creates its own imperative and its own problems. One of them next season is going to be that the way that Major League Baseball has decided to measure the strike zone based on the percentage of a guy, from here to here, and then from here, here down, is not the same strike zone that the umpires call. How is some guy gonna, looking at a 100-mile-an-hour fastball gonna say, well, what is 22% of Giancarlo Stanton? It's like, I don't know how it works. I am sure they will figure out a way to make it work. And I don't really mind, to be honest, the challenge system. It's okay with me. But do not bring it to every pitch, because if you do that, I'm out.
At least Provincetown will still be there, and the other Cape Cod League teams for you to enjoy. I'm getting some messages here which are making me think we've had you on here for an hour now. We've used up your time. There are some messages here.
I'm willing to stay if you want me, if there are other questions.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to back off and let other people ask questions if they want. They can verbalize those instead of having me read them. But just a quick update, Seattle is up 5-1. Your website has been cited here for people that can check that out, so that any of the books that they don't have that they might still be able to get, they'll at least know the titles if they want to go out and find those books. And I know that.
Mike, can I say something? Can I interrupt you? The only industry that markets itself as badly as baseball and who functions as badly as baseball is publishing. Why? Because it's predicated on analytics. So if you come to a publishing company and say, I have an idea, and it's not something that's been done before, they can't get comparables. That means that anything original is discouraged. So when I come along and I say, you know what, I'm not going to write a biography this time, I'm going to write something different. They're like, oh my, what do we do with this? They have no clue how to market it. So I'm begging you all, Christmas is coming. Hanukkah is coming. Buy the book and write reviews on Amazon because the New York Times didn't review it. And that makes all the difference in the world.
Okay.
I
So
got
I know Dennis was going to ask a favor of you. We have a copy of your book that we want to give away as a prize to someone who came. And I think he's going to have you help choose that person. So I'm going to turn this over to Dennis and then he can run it from here.
yikes. Oh, 6-1.
Yeah, all the
Wasn't-
pressure's on you, Jane. You know, you're gonna have, we're gonna ask you to pick a number between 1 and 22, and 21 people will be unhappy with you almost
19.
immediately.
19.
19. 19, Tim Rask. Tim, you still here?
You have to be present to win.
Oh, there we
um,
go. Yes, I am still
I
here.
think he's still here, yeah.
Yo, Tim, it's
Well,
yours.
so thank you. I can take the hold off at my local library now.
There you go. How do I sign it for you?
That'd be terrific. Thanks.
But we'll have to figure out a system, all right?
Okay,
All right,
You know
sounds
what,
good.
I'll just donate one.
Okay,
Send me your mailing address.
okay.
okay. Congratulations, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
My pleasure.
Hey, Jane, this is Dennis again.
Hi, Dennis.
I've heard you on 4 or 5 podcasts. I'm almost through the book. And one thing we talk a lot about the Cape Cod League. I look being here in Wisconsin in the Northwoods League, and a team that I think proves a lot of what you say are the Madison Mallards. I call them the highest attending baseball team in the state of Wisconsin without a roof. That other team seems to cheat. But they average well over 6,000 fans a game, which outdoes all college baseball and a lot of the minor leagues. And a lot of it's based on an owner that is very customer in his real life job was probably the greatest customer service owner manager I've ever known. And that's how he runs his team. It's all about the fans. And it's one of the things he did. And early on, the third year, they just celebrated their 25th. They had a new, and they call them coaches because college players play for coaches, not managers. And the second coach they had who came in the third year told the players, no one can leave the ballpark. Can go into the clubhouse until the last fan is out of the ballpark. And they stand up there and they wait for every kid to come out and sign autographs. And the kids come there every day because they want to be there to get the autographs. You may get 10 of the same player, but it's just a huge attraction. And so it's that sort of thing that I think validates what you're saying about the kids in baseball.
I think we're gonna have a designated signer. If Cal Ripken can do it, you know, we can find somebody on the roster.
I remember when they used to do that when I was a kid at Candlestick. On like a Saturday games, they would have somebody come out and sign, you know, they had a little like stand for them. My favorite was McCovey, but you know, I'm biased that way.
He was a good guy. I liked him.
He was.
Jane, can I give Tim Rusk your email address?
Sure.
Okay. And then you can work it out. Although we'd be happy to send we'd like to support you, but we'll try to
No, I just want everybody else to go buy copies.
everybody else go buy. And
Are
if you
you-
live in Milwaukee, it's at Boswell Books if you want to buy local. And I know people are in
No,
other
no.
towns.
I want you, it's horrible. I swore I would never buy anything from Amazon again after what Jeff Bezos did to my newspaper. But you know what? He's created a new model, a new business model, and it works, unfortunately. And their reviews, the reviews on there matter enormously.
Mhm.
It's incredible how much they matter. And so anybody who can write a review on Amazon, I'd be very grateful.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna write a
One.
review on Amazon, but I'm not buying through Amazon. I'll go to my local independent bookstore.
Okay, yes, I believe in independent bookstores.
Are you traveling to do any book signing readings?
I'm actually gonna be in Madison, for the, book fair on the 25th.
Any possibilities of getting out to San Francisco?
We can have a long discussion about, what publishing thinks about book tours.
Uh,
They don't
probably
think.
not, probably not much.
Hmm?
I said probably they don't think much of it, but
No, it's not cost effective.
yeah.
And since so few people are reading, to give you an
I
idea,
find that sad. I really do. I love reading and I just find it so sad.
I do too. It only took 2,300 books last week to qualify for the New York Times bestseller list. 2,300, period, nationally. I mean, I know 2,300 people. Like it's insane. Don't get me going on the politics of it, please.
Yeah.
No. Anybody else have a really good question?
Say,
Is it-
Jane,
Yeah.
to get back to attracting kids to the ballpark, one of the things that bugs me, and this goes back to when the Metrodome opened, like this is over 40 years ago, though. I went to the first game there. It was an exhibition game against the Phillies. And now, back in my day when I was a kid going to games in Chicago, Wrigley Field, Comiskey Park, you could bring your own food into the game. And this is like in the 1980s. Exhibition game, Twins versus versus Philadelphia. Security guard comes up and takes these kids. These are two kids that brought their own sandwiches, their own drinks into the ballpark. Took them away, threw them away. You know, and that's the type of thing I think really started with the new stadiums where no outside food was allowed in, no outside drinks were allowed in. It was a contained environment. You were held prisoner by the ball club, by the stadium. You had to purchase everything at concession counters there. I think if they eased up on food and drink being brought in, and they don't have to go back to the old days at County Stadium when people used to bring in cases of Blatz and Schmidt and Schlitz, though. But just ease up on bringing food into your own food into the stadium. I think that would go a long way for a lot of people, especially families.
It is a noble and good idea, and it's never gonna happen.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Unless again, we do a section, say, okay, there'll be a designated section for people who buy tickets and can bring their own food. That might be a way to ease that in.
Do you think the speeding up of games has cost them concession money?
They're gonna be very, I haven't looked at that, to be really honest. I don't see any less beer being drunk.
Okay.
The
I just
stand-
meant like general food aside from that.
Oh,
but
they'll
yeah.
just raise the prices more.
Yeah.
Jane, I have a question.
Hi.
Hi. First of all, I loved everything that you had talked about tonight. I ordered the book while we were talking.
Oh, thank you.
I'd seen it before, but I got a couple of thoughts, and this goes back to the young people. I taught school for a long period of time. One of the things I noticed from over the 30 years that I taught, that kids knew what a huge baseball fan it was because I had things all over the classroom and stuff. But the number of kids in the last years when I would talk about baseball or make some connection, they understood very little. They cared very little. In fact, it just hurt my heart tremendously when I would hear kids say, "Oh, I don't really know what's going on in baseball. In fact, it's boring." And a couple of things that affect that. One, local leagues and things. We had a Lions League here in town in Monmouth, Illinois. Well, when my youngest son was playing, there were probably 12 or 13 teams playing in this league. This would be for like 8, 9, 10-year-olds, kind of like a little league. And in the last couple of years, they struggled to get 4 or 5 teams together. Travel ball is killing a lot of that. And it's middle and upper class kids that can afford it. And I know people that it's like becomes their life, and it's so incredibly expensive. And you see these ballpark complexes being built around the country just for travel ball tournaments and things. So one, we've got to make it so kids can play the game, or we're going to lose it. That's just one thing. Secondly, not being able to bring kids to the game. Okay, my wife and I went to a game in Wrigley this year, and I kind of made a point of looking around. Did not see a lot of children. You see a few with young kids, and that's about it. But what could do when I took my sons occasionally, we could go stand down by the field. Hey, there's so and so. Let's get his autograph. Let's talk to this person, that person, and now that's just, it's completely cut off. You can't talk to anybody. You can't see anything, and now that's filtering down to minor leagues. I can remember one night, Rick Ankiel was in the minors in Peoria, Illinois. Rick came down the sideline before the game, and he pitched a great game the game before. I think my son and I stood there and talked to him for 15 minutes. Now they're setting it up. It's almost impossible in many of these ballparks to even get an autograph from minor league players at high A level. They just make it next to impossible. A next student of mine said this. He goes, baseball is the only major sport right now that's trying to figure out ways not to market and advertise and get their fans involved. It's almost like you look around the stands and look at those white hair and stuff. We're going to be gone in a decade or two. And then what's going to be left? You know, it's just happening. The best thing, this is my last point. The best thing we've seen locally is Prospect League baseball in places like Clinton, Iowa, and Burlington, Iowa, and place where the kids seem to enjoy it. It's fun. You can mingle a little more with the players and stuff. And you know, they only play for 2 months, but it's one of the best things happening. We've got to address this issue of age and getting kids to like the game again. I mean, to me, that's the only saving grace we have. These kids are not going to be excited about the fact someday you can gamble. That's not what's going to attract them to the game. Oh, I can place a bet. No, I can go to the game and I can talk to one of my favorite players, and I can, you know, you can have something before the game. They could come on the field, father-son catch and stuff. You got to market to the kids. That's the bottom line.
I agree with you. And I think even the physical infrastructure that has caused estrangement. Lee
Yep.
Smith told me, that back when the Cubs had bullpens on the field,
Yep.
he did a lot of sitting, and he made friends with people in the stands,
Mhm.
and stayed friends with the people in the stands.
Yep.
And continues to be friends with those people from the stands. And again, everything is geared towards making this, alienation of affection. And another one of the things that I didn't mention, but I think that I'd like to reorganize commercial endorsements and commercial time between innings. When I was a kid, when you were all kids, it was 90 seconds, right? And you'd have, your Schlitz or your Peels or whoever.
Ham spear.
Yeah.
Ham's beer. Yep.
So what I would do is I would cut it's now 2 minutes and 15 seconds for commercial time, basically, which of course has added to the length of the game. And instead of having those between innings and half innings all the time, put hockey style longer pauses between the third and fourth and the sixth and seventh. And I'm not talking about a half an hour or 20 minutes even, but during that time, they could do some of the goofy stuff that would enable kids to come down on the field. How about having a high school captain of his team warm up the pitcher? How about running with the pierogies you know, racing the presidents in DC. If they made one of Trump, sorry, I may have offended somebody there. I can't resist. It's been 5 hours now. Uh, uh, you know, if you want a kid to love baseball, you got to let them get down on a field
Yep.
and feel the grass and take some dirt and run the bases. And you don't have to be the, you know, grandchild or son of a season ticket holder, you know, who pays $300 a seat. It should be, you know, again, first come, first serve after every fucking game.
Would you bring back photo day? I miss photo day.
Yep.
I miss clinics. I took a clinic with Mickey Mantle,
Mm.
you know?
Yep.
Either, and if I said this already, I don't remember. I might have said it in a different podcast or something. Dave Roberts pointed out that one of the really big, stupid things that they did was start having the home team take batting practice first. Now, of course, a lot of them don't come out on the field altogether anymore because they've got the traject machines against whom they can bat, you know, hit against avatars who never make mistakes, you know, or be subject to the elements. But that was how you became a fan, is you got
Do most ballparks allow fans to come in to watch BP? Because
no, what happens is
Nope.
you can come in to watch the second team
right,
take BP, and that is now almost invariably the
the
visiting.
visiting team.
So you don't get to see your guys. Well, how did I become a fan? You know, by watching Mickey at batting practice. How did Dave Roberts become a fan? By watching the Wizard, you know, and other Cardinals do, you know, fancy things and show off for them during infield practice. That would be you know, I understand, it has to do with travel and logistics and how much they, you know, more they have to go places and this and that and the next thing. But, you know, that's got to be doable, right? Or
They're not even allowing it for minor leagues. You
I
can't
know.
even come in, you can't even watch it. And I'm sorry, I hear what you're saying. These guys are making so damn much money. They're making among the 1% of people in the United States, even rookies are making this money. You said it, it's an entertainment game. You've got to make this game attractive and make people want to be part of it. And they're doing everything they can to alienate the fan, to move them away from that. You're asking people to come and spend a couple $100 for a ball game, parking, food, and everything, and then, oh, don't get close to the players. You know, sit back there and just watch the game and enjoy it, and then leave and then buy the merchandise on your way out. That's a terrible model. You got to have people who want to say, this is fun. Come here and enjoy it and be with the fans, be with the players.
But
You know
yeah,
where it's gotten worse is in the Cactus League and the Grapefruit League in Arizona and Florida. Though, when I started going down to Arizona for to watch spring training, it's probably about 20 years ago or so. I could walk right into Phoenix Municipal Stadium, go to an A's game, get a seat behind home plate for $15. I mean, now to sit on the berm at Scottsdale, Arizona for a Giants game, it's going to cost you $50. $50 for a freaking berm seat on a grassy slope. I mean, that's what really burns me about the way they treat fans at Cactus League games, though. And the prices are just as bad as at a major league park in the middle of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a game a couple of years ago in Phoenix, and between innings, when some of the players start to leave, they walk right past the fans, and they have their head down. They're not going to look at them, and all
Right.
they have to do is look in the fans, just wave, and half the people say, "Oh, Brownie waved at me." No, he didn't. He just waved. They don't wave to the fans. Just
No.
acknowledge the fans. They walk right past them. That's irritating. And to add, Tom, to what you're saying, you don't see kids playing baseball. When we were
Nope.
kids, we played
Nope.
baseball all the time. We didn't need an adult
Yep.
to organize it. We played
Yep.
in the street. We played wherever. Now you drive past a park where there's a ball diamond, you never see anybody on the
Nope.
diamonds. And
Nope.
so kids aren't playing the game. I don't know if they're, and they have to be playing to start to learn that love, but we don't
Yeah.
have that either.
No, played summer when I remember being a kid, we're out there playing every day. We'd play until somebody's mother, our rule was if somebody's mother hollered it was time to come home, or somebody got hit with the ball because it was getting too dark to see. That's what we did. And Little League was just an appendage to what we did all the time. I took my sons out all the time, and we had batting practice. We got to take infield and stuff and things. And yeah, in our little town, we have about 10,000 people. You never, ever see kids out on the ball diamond. They play in games, and that's it. That's all you ever see.
One suggestion that was made by Johnny Gomes, of all people, was that Major League Baseball should buy Little League and staff it with former players.
Yep. Or have, we've seen some things where they, in St. Louis, you sell enough tickets, a high school team can come down and play after the game and things, but they need to do more things like that. And the teams that make it are the teams from affluent communities. That's what happens, because they can afford to get people to buy expensive tickets and things for this. They need to do more things. I made a comment earlier. Under the current model, Henry Aaron would not make the major leagues. Henry Aaron would not be a major leaguer because he'd never get a look. That visual picture of that scrawny kid going off, and then eventually, I just watched a little video about him when he played for the Eau Claire team, and you wouldn't see things like that today. It's sad. Think about how many great ball players came from poverty and came from those kind of situations, and you don't see that happening today. Not in baseball anyway. Maybe in basketball and football, but boy, not much in baseball.
I agree.
I'm sorry, Jane, I have a question for you. Have you had an opportunity to kind of look at Japanese baseball, Korean baseball, the Dominican, Latin America, to see if there are some things that are doing there that would help engage fans in the way you'd like to see it done?
I think that, the primary difference between here and there, and the answer is no, I have not had opportunity to study it, but there's no competition in those countries with other major sports. You don't have the NFL, and you don't have the, except in China, you have the NBA, in Europe, you have the NBA, but I think that's the salient difference. And, God bless Babe Ruth when he went to Japan, right? The one question I would love to ask Shohei Ohtani is whether he read about Babe Ruth as a kid. Nobody's ever asked him that question. Because obviously what he's trying to do is to eclipse the Babe.
Yeah.
The Iowa Cubs do a great job market, Mike, is that what you're saying? I can't see the end of your comment.
Oh, I was responding to Steve Dunn keeps talking about all these wonderful things the Iowa Cubs do, like they involve high school kids and they let kids run the bases after Sunday games. And I was just saying they do a really good job of marketing their team. And I go to more Iowa Cubs games than I do all major league games combined. And I live 4 hours from Des Moines. So it's not like they're in my backyard. They're really good at
But
what they
you're
do.
a lunatic.
Yeah, that too.
Here's another idea too. Have a contest. Every major league team has a contest. Families can win a trip to Cooperstown. Bring them to Cooperstown and show them the legacy and the history of the game. When I got to go there for the first time, I was awestruck, absolutely awestruck. And I just thought, oh my God, if I could have seen this as a kid. But how many people are getting to Cooperstown these days? Do something.
Get to.
Pardon?
It's not easy to get to.
No, it's not.
No,
But what I'm
it's
saying
not.
is these major league teams and these owners who are often billionaires could afford every game. Someone wins a trip to Cooperstown. Every game. Some family in the stands.
Does anybody know how long the average replay takes?
You mean during a game?
Yeah,
David Smith could probably tell us that.
yeah, Dave probably would know. I'll have to call him. Gentlemen, ladies, I have to be on the phone with somebody, another interview, believe it or not, at 7:40 tomorrow morning. It's
Thank-
9:31 my time here. I haven't eaten dinner, so I think I have run the limit of my vocal cords tonight.
Thank
I'm,
you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
We are
you
honored.
guys can
Thank
have,
Good.
Mary, if you're still
I'm
there,
looking forward to getting your book and reading your book.
Yeah.
you feel
Can't wait to read it.
Feel free to give out my email address. I'm happy to talk to anybody after it if they read the book or they have other questions. But I might have to type the answers for the next hour or two.
Thank you so much, because I know this is under duress and you were still amazing.
Under duress? No,
Mike was amazing.
Yep.
Excellent questions. You two are good together.
yeah, we're kind of, Mike has visited, we never got to the to Orleans, but Mike has visited my house in Cape Cod. And I hope he's coming back someday. You coming back someday, Michael?
I'll be in Philadelphia in January. That's getting close.
I'm not going up there and freezing on there. No, we need to do this summer. They start playing in mid-June.
We'll make it happen this summer.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
Thank you, Jane.
it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mike.
Feel better,
Thank you,
Mary.
everybody.
This was great. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
everyone.
much. You made me feel
Thank
better.
Great presentation, great questions.
Feel better,
Thank you for
Mary.
contributing
Thank you.
so much. I appreciate it a great deal.
Yeah.
If anybody gets an answer to that question about the length of average, see, I can't talk now. It's gone. It's like
Do you think it's too long or not long enough?
I just want to know what it adds to a game.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've got technology.
2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes,
Yeah.
according to AI.
Oh,
Oh.
you can believe that bullshit? That's the problem, Mike. Don't trust AI. I think the pursuit of perfection in baseball is misguided.
Mhm.
I think perfection is boring. And I think it's useless, it's a fool's errand. It's never going to be perfect. It can't be perfect. So I'm just the march towards
Baseball was never designed to be perfect. It's human. That's the way it should be.
Mhm.
Well,
That's why Red Sox fans waited 86 years, and Cubs fans and Giants fans, and that's why all these fans waited so long for that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let Jane rest unless she wants to
Sorry.
comment, but I
I'm
just wanted to
sorry.
mention a quote by Bill Spaceman Lee that he
love
said, "You're
Bill.
not for the players, you're not for the owners, you're for the game."
Mhm.
And I think that's why you should be commissioner.
He called the other day after they took Crochet out, and after Cora took Crochet out, he said, screaming, would they have taken out Koufax? I said, yes. He
Unfortunately.
goes, Alex Cora couldn't manage a Dairy Queen. And on that note,
Thank you.
I love Bill Lee.
All right. Yeah, I love Billy too.
Yeah.
Talk to you guys later.
Yep.
Bye, Jane.
But
Anybody
Spend
wants to
time
stick-
with you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Jane. If anyone wants to stick around and talk baseball or something, we can stay on for a few minutes longer also. Thank you, Jane. You are not required to stay, please.
No,
Yeah. Get
I'm
some
going
dinner.
now. But
go
Mike,
get dinner and get some rest.
Mike, I need to talk to you.
You
Okay,
in trouble, Mike?
Probably, but this won't be the first time.
trouble. I just need
You know
some.
how to get a hold of me.
That I need to talk to you. That just a chill went down my
I have
spine.
no idea how much this man contributed to this book. You have no idea. And to the Babe book.
Yeah.
Did I say something nice about you in the acknowledgements? I hope I did.
You made my wife mad.
What did are you serious?
Yeah, you said, and darling Mike. And Mary Ellen said, do I need to know something?
Oh, no,
I haven't read those yet.
no, no.
That's funny.
That is funny.
Are you being serious?
No. She
No,
did
I-
notice that though.
Well, you are darling, and it's, what can I say?
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you.
But so
We'll
is
talk.
Sammy Esposito. Okay, I'm going now.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
You guys are-
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Yeah.
Dennis, I'm just going to turn off my video and audio. I need to lay down. So
Okay.
yeah, thank you so much, everybody.
Get a lozenge, have a Tylenol,
Yeah.
you know.
Absolutely. I've got NyQuil and
Don't get
everything.
autism.
I had a good haul at the drugstore. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Dennis,
And thanks for not spreading it.
you could probably turn off the recording.
Yeah. Ooh.
Well, that was fun.
Oops.
Oh, now it's back on.
But this was fun. Thank you so much.